Welcome to the Vernon Verdict Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Vernon. Hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. You know the drill. Live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. And drop your comments in the chat below. We'll get to them throughout the stream. We are rapidly approaching spring football. We got a nice little list for you of what I want to see, what I expect to see. And we got some coaching search updates. Obviously, Bo Davis, I would say he's leaving, not really leaving the boot. Just traveling a little bit lower. Get a little bit more professional, join the Saints, D-line coach. Now LSU is left in shambles. Who are we going to hire? What are we going to do? Who are we going to replace? How are we going to continue to develop our guys in the trenches? That's the biggest question mark. Bo Davis did phenomenal in year one. We wanted to keep seeing the transition in year two because it looks like through the portal, through all these different additions that LSU's been able to make, that they're one of the scariest teams. All they got to do is just sit down, work, and get through it. Now, the work starts soon. Saturday, March 8th is their first practice. We will not be in there. We will be there on the 12th, though. So mark your calendars. 3/12, Vernon Verdict, practice highlights. They're back. We'll talk LSU baseball. Damn, that was rough. A little rough. I ain't gonna lie. Then we'll do some basketball recaps for you. March Madness, 5 days into the month. Let's see how mad LSU's really gonna get. Start off with the D-line. Al Davis. We talked about him. That's my, gut feeling, and there's only a couple of reasons I can give you to have it make as much sense. The first is the synchronization. When you have coach with players or, with coaches like Blake Baker and Peoples at other locations and have had success, I believe that now the confidence in the scheme and the ability to be able to be on one same common goal and not really, have any people step on each other's toes or this or that or the other, there's a great fit here. There's a great relationship here. And then whenever you're put in a situation like this that fast, whenever you have to hurry up and scramble to go find a replacement, I think you have to lean on the relationships. I think you have to lean on the people that you had already known, that you had already trusted, that you can already put your faith into, because if not, you're going to be taking a shot in the dark. And there's one thing that normally doesn't work out in college football, and it's unfortunately shooting in the dark. Can it work? Sure. However, I wouldn't want to put myself in a situation where you lose one of your most important pieces on really one of the most important sides of the ball. LSU on the offensive side has been able to kind of make things work. And I think Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, Frank Wilson, all these pieces, they're phenomenal. And I'm not worried about that coaching staff. And I'm not necessarily worried about the defensive staff. It's just you had no holes, and now you got one. So it's kind of hard to not focus on it, especially when we really are considering how solid is that room in general. Is there a need to even start transferring players in at that position? I think that that's something we can potentially start to worry about. I mean, this transfer portal window is going to open here soon, and LSU is going to be in a little bit of a situation where they're going to be trying to polish off one of the best classes that they've really ever put together in the transfer portal. Do you add more pieces? Do you mix in more names? I think the more you see them in the spring, the more you answer that question, the more you realize the holes that they could potentially have, whether it be that Mike linebacker spot, that inside D tackle spot, or anything else of that nature. I do think that there probably are a couple things you're going to have to keep in mind when it comes to that transfer portal for LSU. We'll break that down here shortly. Let me keep picking at this D-line room and just giving you a glimpse into how I see things working out for them. The starting core, and I could be wrong, but as of right now, it makes the most sense if both of your edges were Patrick Payton, Jack Piper, and you get in the inside, you got Jacoby and Guillory, and then you're going to make a decision. Dominic McKinley or Ahmad Burrow. My first, gut feeling would say Dominic McKinley gets the opportunity. There's still other names, though, that we really can't forget about. We're going to call them the diamonds in the rough, right? The tigers in the rough, if you will. Gabe Relaford, that's the first name that I got to give credit to. I think Gabe Relaford's in for a big year. I think he has a lot of upside. You saw Braden Swinson give him his flowers at the NFL Combine. They asked Braden, Savion and yourself are here at the NFL Draft. LSU's going to have a new era of edge rushers. Who takes the torch? And without hesitation, I saw Braden Swinson got on that podium and said, Gabriel Relaford, that's going to be the next guy up. I got to put him in diamond in the rough spot just because I think there's going to be opportunity here in the trenches for these players. It's going to be about who rises and stands the tallest. And with what Gabe Relaford was able to do last spring, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to him this spring. I'm definitely going to have that name written down on a list as somebody that could potentially turn a lot of heads and over-exceed expectations. Two more names, might be underrated, might go unknown, but I think that you have to pay attention to Sean Washington and Dylan Carpenter. If you're in a situation where you're talking about adding more depth to this trench and just having development across the board, you're going to look at the pieces that have been sitting there waiting for their time. Are they going to be the most elite? Who knows? But they've been in an LSU scheme for over a year now, and both of those, Sean and Dylan, showed flashes last spring. Like I said, you want to see how they have been able to level up, and now if they get an opportunity, how are they going to respond to it? How are they going to be able to go in there and soundly show that they are the guy? Now, let's talk about Al Davis real quick. Obviously, you're hearing all the rumors, you're hearing all the murmurs. That seems to be the favorite. That seems to be the lead candidate for LSU to replace Bo Davis. They've already met. They've had interviews. They've got that tie with Blake Baker and Coach Peoples, and I really do think that this is the hire that makes the most sense. Apart from the Mizzou side, he definitely has been around the SEC block quite a while, from player to coach to what have you. I think he's been in enough close proximity to this conference where if he gets the job, LSU will be in maybe not a better situation, maybe not the same situation, but still a very good one, because it's going to be hard to replace Bo Davis. When you're the highest paid and when you're number one, you're going to leave some people confused a little bit when they're having to replace you and make these tough decisions. I think this decision gets that much less tougher if you go with what you know. Al Davis, I think, is the right choice. Let's talk about this portal a little more. And I know we got two pictures here on the screen, and every LSU fan's heart probably just sunk. I'm not saying this is a guaranteed move. I'm being more hypothetical than anything. If you do have to start a worry list, rather, if you got to put down names on a list of them, I'm worried about this guy, or I think that this guy's role might potentially be a conflict, and he might, spread his wings and fly. There's 3 names on that list. They're all, unfortunately, offensive related, and I really don't have any guess on who can leave on the defense. And the reason being is because on the defense, you need everybody you have. You need everybody. You need the DBs. You need the D linemen. You can't afford to lose a linebacker, neither a safety. I just really can't see any name worry you on that defensive side. Offensive side, oh boy, you're getting competitive. You're stacking that room. I'll start with the wide receivers. I mean, if you look at the wide receiver room and how crowded it's gotten, I just don't know how they all fit. I'm going to read it to you start to finish. Nick Anderson, Barian Brown, Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Destin Hill, Kyle Parker, Zay Thomas, Jelani Watkins, Kylan Billiot. Now, that's a lot of names. That's a lot of mouths, and that's a lot of food to be able to feed these guys. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, and I don't know how they're going to work it out. I think your top people are Nick, Barron, Aaron, and Chris. Obviously, Destin can make his presence felt, but now that begs the question. What do you do with all the other players, specifically the players like a Kyle Parker or a Xavier Thomas, or players who, quite frankly, their roles are answered with an Aaron Anderson, with a Barian Brown, even with somebody like a Jelani Watkins, who I think can make his presence felt this season. I would worry. I would worry about Xavier Thomas. I would worry about Kyle Parker. And lastly, that man on the right, I would worry about Caleb Jackson. And it's not saying he's not going to have a big role. I think Caleb Jackson and Caden Durham will be split backs this season. And I think, quite frankly, you do see Caleb Jackson get to that successful point you were waiting on him to get to. I don't think that point is impossible for Caleb Jackson to get to. I still believe in him. I'm still in the Caleb Jackson camp. I still think he's and I still think he could be one of the best players on LSU's offense. I just think the opportunity that he thought he would have had this year might be a little different. Might line up expectation-wise a little different than what he was expecting, right? I think, Caden Durham being the lead back, it might not necessarily rub him the wrong way, but you're not the bell cow. You're not RB1. You're not the guy. How does that sit with you? Are you okay with that? Are you okay with potentially having to share this room also with guys like a Harlem Berry, potentially a Trey Holly? How are these things going to go over? And if they don't go over well, and if there is a continuation of the disconnect that we've seen last year, then I would worry that Caleb Jackson enters the transfer portal. You don't want that, though. You obviously don't want that. That's something that I think would be a detriment to the team. That would potentially be the worst transfer for LSU that departed, besides Deshaun Womack, who I think also hurt. Because if you had Deshaun Womack on this team, you would have a completely different situation in the trenches. And it's not saying the trenches are bad. It's just saying the transfer portal sometimes is really sneaky. You want to know why the SEC had such a roughish time being competitive and making their presence felt in the college football playoff? Well, it's because of the dispersion of talent across college football. It's because the SEC doesn't have NFL talent at the 4th string, 5th string, and 6th string. Those players are now transferring, getting a bag, and going to play at other schools, at your Big 10 schools, your Big 12 schools, whatever the case may be, RIP Pac-12. But my point being, you're going to see a lot of changes here. All the changes are going to be a result of the transfer portal. Let's hope LSU don't change too much. I'll give you what my preview is for the spring, though. At least Let's talk O-line. Let's talk DB. Let's talk those rotations. What are we going to expect from that point? On the offensive line side of things, I'd imagine your tackles are probably Tyree Adams, Weston Davis. I would think your guards are going to be Josh Thompson and Chester, DJ Chester, that is. Obviously, your center, Braylon Moore. Now, why Thompson and Chester at guards? Well, the DJ Chester move from center to guard, I think, will make the most sense. I think it does make him the most comfortable. I think you do see the best out of DJ Chester when he's in that role. With Josh Thompson, a lot of people were expecting a tackle position for him. Well, that blindside guard spot might be just as important, especially if Tyree Adams is showing some success at tackle. Now, there's going to be more names that you could put there. You could slide a Thompson there. You could slide Bo Bortles on there. There's going to be pieces. It's going to be interesting to see how Brad Davis pieces it together, though. Brad Davis is kind of like a Mad Hatter. He's always able to figure it out, and I don't think this year is going to be any different. That's who I'm expecting to be, though, at your offensive line spot. Weston and Tyree at your tackles, Thompson and Chester at your guards, and Braylon in the middle at center. For DBs, you can go any which way. Safeties, I would think Deshaun Spears, and I'm going to throw TaMarcus out there. I know Jordan Gilbert's got a good opportunity. I'm going to go with what I think is your potential best squad. I put him at strong, and I would put Deshaun at free. I know that TaMarcus played that nickel spot. Nickel corner whenever he was at NC State. Guess what? I think he can translate. I think it can work. I think you try it out. If it doesn't work, obviously you got Jordan Gilbert in your back pocket. You got more people too. You got Tobiano, and you got a couple of names in that cornerback room that you can watch move around. I do think your best two corners as of right now are Mansour Delane and Ashton Stamps. Ashton's been in this scheme. You know, they got a lot of trust. Corey Raymond, I think, is going to rock with who he knows. But he does have an X-factor weapon at Jakeem Jackson. And you also got DJ Pickett, who you never know is going to be able to just jump into the mix and instantly start contributing. The fact that you got all those corners, now you wonder, how long do Ashton Stamps and Mansour Delane play a true corner? Do they always play a true corner? Do they ever plug and play at safety? I think this DB room can be a little more hybrid than people think. Now, let's talk our transfer portal wish list. We opened this segment up with the worry list and, who could potentially be leaving. Now let's talk about who could potentially be coming in. I got 3 players, and once again, we'll keep the damn thing themed defensively. I got 3 defensive positions that I would love LSU to target. The last one, not as big of a necessity as the first 2. I'm going to go Mike. I'm going to go inside D tackle. And you know what? We just talked about potentially having to move a corner. We just talked about having to put a nickel corner at strong. We just talked about maybe let's just run Jordan Gilbert back out there. If you got an opportunity to grab another safety, whether it be free or strong, you go out there and you do it. You go out there and you grab them. Maybe you're in a situation where that's too many mouths. I don't think you've got all the depth in the world. Maybe if you were in like a wide receiver room situation where you got so many people that you're hoping one of them don't hop in the portal, then that would be too many. I don't think you're in that spot right now. I think everybody's sitting comfortable. We'll throw another name in, Michael Turner. He probably sees some time as well at cornerback. Now, it's just all going to be contingent on the injury bug, right? On who stays healthy, on who's able to answer the bell whenever it comes, because naturally, that's when everybody gets tested. That's when you see the depth and the true colors of this LSU team. And I mean, in the spring, you're going to kind of get to see it a little bit in that linebacker room. You're not going to have Harold Perkins. You're not going to have Whit Weeks. We're going to get to see that depth. We're going to get to see Devon Keys. We're going to get to see West. We're going to get to see, we might even see Zach. We're going to see the damn Weeks trio minus Whit. It's going to be interesting to watch spring football. Like I said, March 12th is starting. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. We're going to be there covering it all spring long, as per usual. Let's hop into this baseball segment. Ooh, LSU baseball. Why? I mean, look, Heart Attack City. We're on roller coasters watching these games. You're sitting there for the thrill. Sometimes they ain't starting off exactly the way that you want them to start off. This game was no different. North Dakota State, Lord, hung around a lot longer than they should have. Not a good team overall. LSU wound up getting out of the 7-1 deficit. Blew that lead. That's insane because you're not always in that situation. You're not always in a situation where your offense can just 100% carry you to the finish line despite all your defensive struggles. 7-game win streak for the Tigers, 12-1 of the year. Let's talk offense. Let's talk about those bats. I believe it was 11 runs, 10 hits. Impressive game. Steven Milam hit the game-winning 2-run double in the 8th, 2 for 4, 3 RBIs. Daniel Dickinson, 3 for 4, 2-run homer, 3 runs scored off the bat. Zach Cowan, 2-0. Kason Evans came in, led the bullpen. Both of them got a nice save. Stopped NDSU from adding on the runs. Stopped the bleeding. Put in there. Put some Z's on the innings. Get them out of there. Here's the overall take on LSU baseball. Here's what I'm feeling, and here's why I think this happened. You go into the Frisco Classic and you flex some muscles and you show everybody, hey, we're probably the damn best baseball team in this country. We're going to come in, we're going to sweep, we're going to flex, and we're going to ball. Now you're not as focused. Now you got a smaller opponent after a huge series, and you've got consecutive baseball games back to back to back to back. You're in a situation where I think through 7 days you played 5 games. LSU needs a breather, and they're not getting one. And they're not getting one tonight because you're getting a rematch with NDSU again tonight at 6:30 in the box. LSU's in a spot where they might be hitting a little bit of an early season wall. Now, they're not getting tired. They're not going to be screwed, but it could have been just a little testing moment. It could have been a point where it was gut check for the Tigers, and now they get to learn from it. I mean, it's a W. It was the Mardi Gras effect. Shitty weather, small crowd, Fat Tuesday. Everybody's worried about catching bees and eating king cake. Now LSU can turn the page and actually be one of the best teams in college baseball. Sometimes you got to scare the fans a little bit. It ain't always going to be rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes you got to have Jay Johnson pop off and hold the guys accountable. I think this one's going to be nothing different. LSU is going to be able to turn the page from this and 100% be that championship team that we're expecting. Now, how many championships can LSU win this spring? Because there's a lot of teams that are impressive. You got gymnastics. You got baseball. You got track. You do have 2 basketball teams. And we're going to talk about them, but I just want to portray the complete opposite situation that one is in and the other is in. They are polar opposites. They are yin and yang. One's in March and one is struggling to even stay relevant in March. Let's stick with women's basketball. Anissa Morrow, I'll give her some credit. Second female in NCAA history to get 100 double-doubles. Absolutely balling. She's going to have to be the hand that you feed in this SEC tournament. She's going to have to be the main woman that gets this rock, that gets the lead, that gets all of the opportunities because she's your hot hand, and you got to find the people that have been performing well. I'll add Michaela Williams to the list as well. Obviously, Flau'jae Johnson's going to be sitting out. She's got the shin splint. She's got this lingering injury that's kind of happened for a few weeks, I think, since the Texas game. Either way, you're going to have to look to the hot hands, to the hot pieces. We've been advocating for a Kaylin Gilbert start. We've been advocating for this, for that, and it happened. And a lot of people are saying the Flau'jae Johnson, being absent kind of portrayed into that, kind of helped that at least. Flau'jae's been playing 2, and last year Poa came in at 2. Shaw's been playing point. China Dale Wilson. Kaylin Gilbert came in at point. Kaylin Gilbert got her first start, or not first start, but one of her first starts in one of her more important games. And I don't think that trend is going to slow down. I think you keep Kaylin Gilbert in the starting lineup, not only because Flau'jae's out, but because that is your best point guard. That makes your best lineup. I'm all for getting sparks. Sometimes that sparks will come too late if you're waiting. If you're waiting for that second team to come off the bench, you might already be down. You might already given up 20 damn turnovers. That's something else we got to talk about. Turnovers killed the game. You want to know how you have less turnovers? You have more efficient guard play. You have the best point guards out there, keeping the ball on your side, not having the, flashy, crazy passes or all these, rough pressures. The pressure is obviously going to happen, and we expected the pressure. Ole Miss is known for it, and there's going to be a lot of other teams that you're going to play that are going to be known for it. However, that does not excuse it. You got Michaela Williams getting 6, KG getting 5, and Shai getting 4. If you clean that up, I think LSU could be in a different situation. Obviously, the number one thing that we're going to have to focus on is getting healthy. You don't want to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and getting to a spot where there's a point of no return, and now you're in March Madness. Hell, you're in Baton Rouge in the first or second round, down 10 points, trying to scrape together a comeback. I think what you do, and I might lose a couple of you here when I say this, but look, I think what you do right now is you say, screw the SEC tournament, and you focus on March Madness. And I think that's kind of what the vibe is right now with the benching of Flau'jae. Kim Mulkey came out and said it wasn't her, it wasn't a doctor, it wasn't anybody. It was me. I decided to do it. It makes sense to me. She kind of went on and talked about conference tournaments not benefiting top seeds, how LSU had already earned the right to host regardless of what happens in the SEC tournament. And I'm going to agree with all of those opinions and all of those statements because I don't think an SEC championship is going to be remembered 15 years from now. We're all going to be talking about national championships, Final Fours, March Madness appearances, this, that, and the third. Get your team healthy. Focus on what matters. Go get another ring. Get Flau'jae on the sideline. Get her back into her 100% so she can have the 20-plus point games, so she can go out and distribute and be her 100% self for her team. Makes sense. And I hope that LSU is going to be able to string it together whenever, when the lights are really on, when the lights are bright. Because if it don't work and it don't happen, we'll be in a grimy spot. Let's talk men's hoops. This is the end. This is the opposite. You don't have any March Madness hopes. Matter of fact, you're running out of hopes entirely. Kentucky absolutely mushed LSU, 30-plus point victory, 50-23 at halftime. At halftime, Kentucky was shooting 58% from the field, while LSU shot 0 for 8 from 3. LSU finished with 16 turnovers. Kentucky grabbed 18 points off of them. The last game for LSU is this Saturday at 3 o'clock versus A&M. And boy, could the end of the season not come sooner. I know that we're all ready for Matt McMahon and the next season and the focus and the shift from LSU doing this for other sports, and now they're going to focus in the transfer portal for men's basketball. I get it. We're ready. And it's definitely going to help. The budget is smaller. I do want to beg this question. There is merit in asking if putting all these investments and all these contracts and all these NIL pieces together, is it going to be worth it? Because if you're not in a spot where it's all getting put on the field together, the right combinations, and everybody's getting developed in the right light, if it's not perfect, I just don't know if the experiment is worth it. I love Matt McMahon. I love him, great person, and I've loved what he's been able to do. And I know that he's had a very tough time because you come in with sanctions and regulations and all these restrictions, and it makes your job that much tougher. I mean, imagine, let's say hypothetically, you're a cashier at a grocery store, and they come in and take half of the damn keyboard from your cashier. You can only take $1 bill. You can never take 5, 10s, or 20s. I mean, you're sitting here not checking anybody out. You're sitting here frustrated. I get it. It's tough. You get headaches. You get this. You get that. We're going to be in year 4, though. I don't think you are going to continue to have that crutch to lean on as the seasons go and go and go. And as of right now, with the performance last night, with all these other performances as well, you just start to wonder. Like, yeah, it could be the lack of transfer portal, the lack of Jimmys and Joes, and the lack of talent. But also, there's a real possibility that you put all the effort into those things and nothing changes. You could get a good portal class, a good recruiting class, and you could still stink it up and miss the March Madness tournament. And then now what happens? Then now I think you have to do the inevitable, and now you really got to hit the drawing board and figure out what to do. Because there are other coaches here in college basketball, and we're not going to name specifics, but there are ones that are seeing success, and there are ones that are probably going to be a little too big for their britches whenever contract season comes talking, because they're winning, because they're putting teams in positions. And I'm not saying that we can't win. I'm just saying we have to win. I'm just saying time is running out because you can't keep having this end of the stick here when SEC basketball is looking the way it is. You got teams like Auburn, Tennessee, obviously Kentucky, Alabama. You got names. You got dogs. We need to join that list. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully it works out. I'm rooting for you, man. I'm rooting for this whole team. I'm rooting for LSU in general. I want to see success. I'm just hoping it comes together. That's about all I got time for today. I really appreciate everybody that watched the show. Please hit the thumbs up on the way out. That's the best way to support us. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be live again Friday at 9 a.m. And like I said, spring football, it's here. Enough hypothesizing, enough waiting, enough talking, enough blah, 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 blah. It is ready. Saturday, March 8th, they're starting. We're going to hop in there on March 12th. Hit that notification bell because the grind just started. Verdict takeover. We were trying to warn you. It's coming. This is when it starts. Y'all have a good one. Drink it.